Apparently has a tattoo of a butterfly on his upper thigh. So hot. I can just imagine our spring fling man.
This is a 7 News special report. Catastrophic collapse.
We are standing by for a news conference with an update from Miami-Dade officials right now on the condo collapse. The search for 152 people still missing is entering its 5th day today. Families of the missing desperate for some sort of news on the work rescue crews have been doing over the weekend. It looks like they're about to get started.
And as we wait, we can just let you know that the very latest numbers are the following. We know that at least 9 people have passed away so far. 134 are accounted for at this time. And still, as Vanessa mentioned, 152 people are still missing, still unaccounted for this morning. Emotions running high as we start day 5 since this collapse happened in Surfside. You can see all the different officials that we've been seeing for the past 5 days are there, about to give us an update. We see Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We see the Governor Ron DeSantis, and of course the Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, among other officials. And if we listen in right now, we'll listen to the Congresswoman first.
I represent Florida's 23rd Congressional District, which includes Surfside, and this morning I've had an opportunity not only to participate in Mayor Levine Cava's briefing, intergovernmental briefing, but to sit down and talk with our national experts from NIST, which is the similar agency that reviews and comes in to decide whether a full investigation will be necessary for structural damage, building collapses. They were investigators in 9/11. They were investigators in a number of structural incidents around the country, and are the best of the best when it comes to making sure that they do a complete and thorough overview. They're in a preliminary investigation right now to determine whether or not they open a full investigation. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I would expect that it is natural that they would decide to do that. And their role is to very forensically review, as the process of going through the rubble, even during the search and rescue process, to help make sure that evidence is preserved, which they're working with the task force on debris to do that, to make sure that even with the Army Corps of Engineers that is embedded in their team, to take a look at some of the issues that have arisen anecdotally, but the issues like the questions around the structural damage to the pool, that area that has been mentioned, and other different points of weakness. They will look through that preliminary investigation and determine whether they open a full investigation, and that is triggered when they get a sense of, after their preliminary review, of whether or not any decisions and fact-finding that they engage in as a result of that investigation can have longer-term implications and recommendations for how we change federal oversight, federal law related to building construction and the kind of code enforcement decisions that will have to be made on the ground. So it's really important and very significant that they're here as early as they have been, because getting them here, embedded with the debris task force, making sure that they advise on how evidence should be preserved once law enforcement takes over, will give them a better chance of answering the question that I know I've been asked over and over. We all have been, okay, how are we going to deal with the long-term implications of this? Did this only impact just this building? We have, as we've said, structures like this all the way up the coastline, all the way up the coastline of the United States. And what NIST will be able to help do is, they're a fact-finding, not a fault-finding agency, and a long-term investigation of theirs would give us a chance, for me, as a member of Congress, to be able to to adopt changes in federal law that will help them make sure that when structures are built, that something like this could never happen again. So I'll continue to be engaged with our very seamless local, state, and national leaders so that we can make sure that we continue the whole of government approach where there's no daylight between any of us. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor Levine Cava, for all your work.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And Governor Ron DeSantis. Well, I had a chance to meet with a number of the urban search and rescue teams today, and as I have seen them, of course, over the last many days, but they've been going at it for over 100 hours straight. When there's danger, they run towards it. They obviously shepherded a lot of people to safety initially, and they have been every minute of every day since the building collapsed trying to identify survivors. They're putting themselves at risk in order to do that, not only because you could have additional collapse. You've had deep-seated fires that they've had to fight. It's been an incredibly hazardous environment, and they've been on the scene nonstop from the very beginning. So I just want to thank them for what they've done. We obviously have some other folks throughout the state that have been able to also come and supplement, but those teams here in South Florida, they're the best of the best. And we had the Israelis come in and take a look, and the Israelis told some of the families what those Miami-Dade search and rescue folks did is exactly what we would have done, exactly what should have been done. And so I think it's a testament, our best in the country here in South Florida, some of the best in the world. Obviously, Israel coming over, they deserve a lot of credit for putting themselves out there. And obviously, the search continues, and it will not stop until there's a resolution. So thank you for that. We're also working in conjunction with FEMA as well as in conjunction with both local government and private organizations to bring relief services to the family members. And that involves relocation assistance. It involves things like mental health counseling. And we have folks, we beef that up here on the ground. And what we want to do is working with FEMA, identify all the families, get them registered face-to-face, which FEMA is doing and is doing a good job of, and be able to provide these services. I have the head of Volunteer Florida is on the ground to help coordinate with all the great volunteer organizations. The outpouring with the charitable donations has been incredible, millions of dollars, and I think there's going to be millions of more. So it's a testament to this community here in Surfside, as well as the greater Miami-Dade area, and as well as Florida and the United States, because people from all across the country have been involved in that. So those recovery efforts from the family of helping them get back on their feet, helping them cope with trauma, that's going to be ongoing. And this is something that's going to require community involvement, local government, state government, and FEMA for a while, and we're in that for the long haul. The final thing is, of course, rescue number one, care for the people that have been displaced number two, but we do obviously need to identify why this happened. I was able to meet with the NIST folks today, and they were created after 9/11. They've done a handful of really thorough investigations since their creation. 9/11, they did Joplin, Missouri from the tornadoes. They're doing Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. They did a Rhode Island nightclub fire that happened almost 20 years ago. And so they've never done just a straight building collapse that wasn't involved with either hazards or terrorism. And so this is going to be something that's important. It is something that's going to be very thorough, and it is something that is not going to happen in a day or two. This is going to take a long time. That's the time horizon they work on, and I understand that. What I've told Mayor Burkett in Surfside, as well as Mayor Cava, because Surfside has retained people to look in, and then obviously Miami-Dade with the state attorney, they're doing an investigation. I think those investigations may be able to provide us with some information maybe a little sooner than an NIST, and I think that's important because if there are things that need to be done at the state level, we obviously would want to get information as soon as possible. And so we've pledged at the state, if they need support from engineers, from experts, whatever we need, whether it's Surfside, Miami-Dade, we're here to help. I think the people of Florida want to understand how could this happen, and then what could we do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so we'll be working on that for the long term. But in the interim, thank you for everybody who's going through that rubble. Thank you for being on the front lines for us. Your work is very, very important, and it's been very, very selfless.
Thank you, Governor. And now Lieutenant Governor Janet Nunes.
Thank you. Good morning. I'll reiterate what the governor said in Spanish. Queremos agradecerle a los grupos, los equipos de búsqueda y rescate.
And as we hear these comments in Spanish, we just want to let you know, if you're joining us right now, we are still waiting to hear from the mayor of Miami-Dade County as far as any new information from overnight. But we did just hear from the governor, Governor Ron DeSantis, and he basically just reiterated the importance of finding out why this happened. Before he spoke, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz said the same thing. Once these search and rescue missions are done, the focus will then turn to why this happened. She talked about long-term effects, bringing in experts, engineering and design experts to really find out the root of the problem here, to be able to forensically go through the debris, go through the building, learn or explain how to properly preserve the evidence there. Because at the end of the day, this is a crime scene. And that kind of goes into why you can't just pick up the debris and move it carelessly. This has to be gone through very, very carefully, methodically as well. And so both of those leaders kind of just telling us, we're going to get to that. We're going to find out why. But the mission this morning continues to be to save lives.
And the Congresswoman also saying that the teams at the National Institute of Standards and Technology are on scene. They're going to be investigating the structural damage of the building. They're also going to be helping to preserve that evidence because, as Alex mentioned, this is a crime scene. They have extensive experience, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They actually worked in the aftermath of 9/11. That's when they were created. They're going to decide on whether a larger investigation is going to be needed. The Congresswoman saying most likely that is going to be the case, and that would then change federal law potentially and code enforcement to ensure that this doesn't happen again in the future. The governor, of course, emphasizing what you're seeing on the right hand of your screen, that the number of hours these rescue crews have been working, over 100 straight hours now, going through this rubble, this pile of metal, steel, and broken concrete, looking for these survivors. We haven't heard an update on the numbers just yet. That's what we're waiting for Mayor Daniela Levine Cava to update us on. So far, we know 9 victims are now confirmed dead. 134 people are accounted for, but it's this number, the 152 unaccounted for. Family members desperate for some answers on this Monday morning, day 5 of the search.
And as they continue to search, we know that the elements out there have been challenging for these rescue teams. Not only are they dealing with the weather, we know that earlier this morning, they did have to stop for just a short time because there was lightning. As we've been telling you, the rain will not stop these men and women out there, these brave men and women risking their own lives, trying to save and look for lives and people under this debris. We know that the structure of the building is still in question this morning as well. There's danger all around them, but they do not stop and they continue. And let's continue to listen to this news conference with the mayor of Miami-Dade County next.
Here we are, day 5, and the search and rescue work continued throughout the night, 24/7. The tireless work of our first responders. These are truly the men and women who have dedicated their lives to saving lives. And this is what they live for, to save lives. So they're out there with every resource that they need to ensure that they can search this area, they can sweep the mound with cameras, with dogs, with sonar, and additional heavy machinery that has come in to start to clear away the debris. We are exploring all possible avenues that they identify. And we're going to continue and work ceaselessly to exhaust every possible option in our search. I repeat, the search and rescue operation continues. As the governor and the Congresswoman said, and the Lieutenant Governor, there's going to be a thorough and full investigation of what led to this tragic event. We are going to get to the bottom of what happened here. Right now, our top priority is search and rescue and find the people. And you can see we have a truly unprecedented mobilization effort underway with the full resources of our local, state, and federal government on hand already, for days already, and people coming in from around the state and around the world to assist us right here in Surfside. I am so grateful to all of the leaders and all of the teams, and especially those who are up on the mound and putting their own lives at risk to find others. This morning, we did recover another body. That brings the count to 10. The total number of those accounted for is now 135, and the total unaccounted 151. Our detectives are working in real time right now to audit this list. We're receiving multiple calls still from family members about the same loved ones, and the information is coming from various sources. I want to stress, as we have from the beginning, these numbers are very fluid and they will continue to change. I want to provide you, as we have done and will do, the best updates as soon as we have them. Remembering that we've told the families that are waiting that they will be the first to hear, and they were the first to hear about this 10th victim that we uncovered today. So we will continue to support all of the families and loved ones who are affected with their mental health, their social service, their physical needs. They have professionals on site, a full gamut in the Family Assistance Center. The Miami Foundation, one of those that launched the donation site, is also on site to assist these families with the cash assistance they need to get on with their lives as well. And we know that, as was said, millions have been collected across these different donation sites. It's really quite incredible. So please continue to pray for the families, continue to pray for the search and rescue team, the best in the world. We have hundreds on backup. We have the people we need. We are continuing without stop. Thank you and God bless. La búsqueda y rescate continúa durante.
So you just heard Mayor Daniela Levine Cava confirm they did recover another body. That brings the total to 10 victims from the condo collapse. 135 people now accounted for, 151 still unaccounted for. She did emphasize that the families are going to be learning about these updates first before the media is told, before the rest of the public in South Florida is told. So the families did learn of this one other body that was recovered. So again, the total now at 10.
And as you mentioned, the families are the first to know, and they've been in communication with these local, federal, state officials that you see on your screen right now. We know that, I know that one family who's waiting for news on, my friend who's waiting for news on his mom, he has been telling me that the communication has been fluid. They're updating them, if not in person at the Grand Hotel, via Zoom. And it's, as she just said, you know, they're communicating with the family first, making sure they're taken care of, and then they'll address the public. And as the mayor just said, the focus continues to be search and rescue. She's been saying that, they all have been saying that for 5 days now, and it seems like they're going to continue to say that until further notice. Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said, quote, "We are going to explore all avenues, exhaust all possible options." And this just shows that the focus continues to be on searching through this debris. I know it's been 5 days and a lot of people are anxious, a lot of people are desperate, and it's understandable without a doubt. But they're searching and they really are doing everything they can right now.
And she said the top priority is going to be finding the missing, but then she said there is going to be a thorough and full investigation into what led to this tragic event. We're going to get to the bottom of this, but of course, top priority, finding those 151 still missing. So those are the unaccounted for, 10 now confirmed dead as a result of this unfortunate, this tragic accident that happened 5 days ago. The search continues. As you said, it's been impeded a bit by a number of elements. The rain we saw earlier this morning, they had to stop those rescue efforts for a brief moment because of some lightning, because that is the only thing that's stopping them so far. And then, of course, over the weekend, that fire, they weren't entirely sure. They believe it might be an electrical issue that caused that fire that sparked on Friday. Finally, Saturday night, they were able to get a handle of it. That stalled the rescue efforts a bit. The rain, of course, as well. But the top priority right now, finding the missing and then figuring out how did this happen? And that's why the Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz said earlier, the teams at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, they are there. They are on the scene. They're going to be there to investigate the structural damage of the building and help preserve the evidence. They have extensive experience. They were actually created in the aftermath of 9/11 to investigate that tragedy. They're going to decide on whether a larger investigation is going to be needed. We all expect that is going to be the case. And then that could potentially change federal law and code enforcement to ensure that this doesn't happen again in the future. And on your right side of your screen, you were just looking at some close-up
pictures of what the scene looks like, and that is what some family members will be able to see today. As we've been telling you all morning long, something else that's new as we start a new work week and as we start day 5 after this collapse is the opportunity some family members will have to go up close to the scene and take a look for themselves to remember their loved ones. Let's go back into this news conference and hear what they're saying now.
There's been boots on the ground. He's been leading since day one. Mayor, your staff, amazing. The folks of Miami-Dade County, the resilience that they provided. This is an international issue, as we've seen support come from the federal, international community. I'm the state's chief financial officer. I'm also the state fire marshal, also a citizen of the state of Florida. Proud to be here with the urban search and rescue men and women of task forces that are assigned here. This is the largest ever deployment of task force resources in the history of the state of Florida that's not a hurricane. The same number of men and women that are on the ground right now is the same as that was deployed to Hurricane Michael, which is a 12-county storm event. They're working around the clock. They're working 12 hours at a time, midnight to noon, noon to midnight. They come from Tallahassee, they come from Orlando, they come from Tampa, they come from Israel, they come from Mexico, they come from Jacksonville, they come from Fort Myers. They come and they leave their families to come and work around the clock. The reward is the life they save. They are making the efforts as we speak right now, and they don't stop. They hardly rest. They come off for about 45 minutes, they check their pulse, they check their O2 levels, and they go back to work, because that's what they do. They work to save lives. I've got the honor to be here with them, and so proud of the efforts that are taking place here. I can't say enough for the leadership of Kevin Guthrie and Florida Department of Emergency Management, for FEMA. They have provided as they know the magnitude of this event. This came from a camp, and now we've created a city inside of a city, several blocks, and we appreciate all the patience that the communities have had here in the region as we do the most amazing efforts in the history of the state of Florida to save the lives at risk because of this terrible tragedy. Governor, thank you for your leadership. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. And now from the Florida Division of Emergency Management, Kevin Guthrie.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Kevin Guthrie, Florida Division of Emergency Management Director. Yesterday at about 4:15 yesterday afternoon, Mayor Cava, Chief Kaminsky asked for the assistance of a federal incident support team specifically related to urban search and rescue. FEMA was in the room at the exact same time. The informal communication of that request happened in minutes, so that request was set up and mobilized, and we have followed up with the necessary paperwork. So again, I think it's important for everyone to understand that as soon as Mayor Cava, Chief Kaminsky, Director Ramirez need a resource, we're sitting together, we're working together underneath the leadership of the governor, the lieutenant governor, Mayor Cava, and others to make sure that that happens instantly. Again, as Congresswoman said, there is no daylight in between either one of us. So I think that's important for everyone to know. I will say that we also are mobilizing today a Florida DHS&V bus to help people get ID cards for those that have been displaced. They need ID cards, driver's licenses, and things of that nature. Those will be, that bus will be deployed today, should be here on site tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And now the Surfside Mayor, Charles Burkett.
I just have a handful of things I want to share with you. First was this morning I was at the site, and I observed hundreds of search and rescue people actively using their hands, digging out, and doing what they're here to do. I also observed the heavy equipment that the governor and the federal government have sent down to us in action, lifting off huge slabs and moving them away from the pile. Secondly, I visited with the families again this morning, as did everybody probably standing here, and we heard from the Israeli team that is here, and one of the things I wanted to note was that the Israeli commander told us that the teams that are out there working are working fabulously together. There's a joint effort, there's a camaraderie, and everybody has the same goal, and that's to pull people out of there. He also added that the intensity and the numbers will continue to increase, which I was very interested to hear. Thirdly, I want to make everybody aware that there has been some discussion about why this happened, and that is, as the Mayor Cava said and the Governor said, that's an issue for another day, because right now we have two issues. Number one is to pull our family and friends out of that rubble and reunite them. Number two is to support the families. But to the end, with respect to the information, we directed our staff to go ahead and scan every shred of documentation that the town of Surfside has, which includes going to our archive storage sites. We've got boxes, and we're sending those boxes to a printing scanning company, and those documents will be available for your review. I know you've seen some documents already, and again, I haven't had a chance to watch the news because we're sort of in the midst of this disaster, all of us. I don't know that anybody else has a chance to watch the news either, but I learn of stuff from you guys, and I'm able to follow up on it. But most recent are a couple disturbing comments that I saw regarding minutes, board minutes at the Champlain South Towers with respect to some of our officials in town. But be that as it may, we will get to the bottom of it. Last comment I want to make is, late last night I had toured, and this is on the personal side, I had toured the site as I normally do. Usually I'm there 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. And I came across a little girl. She's about 11 or 12 years old. And I had seen this little girl before, and I know because she was with her mom, and we had talked. And she may have been with her dad, I'm not quite sure, but one of her parents was in that building at the time of the collapse, and the other parent lives a couple buildings away. And she told me she goes back and forth. When I came across her, she was sitting in a chair by herself with nobody around her, looking at her phone. And I knelt down and I asked her, I said, "So what are you doing? Are you okay?" And she said, "Yes." And she said something. And what she was telling me, it was a Jewish prayer. But she was reading a Jewish prayer to herself, sitting at the site by where one of her parents presumably is. And that really brought it home to me. And she wasn't crying, she was just lost. She didn't know what to do, what to say, who to talk to. And I was looking for her this morning at that family meeting, and I didn't see her, but I am going to find her, and I'm going to tell her that we're all here for her, and we're going to do the best we can to bring out that parent. So anyway, it's horrific. This is disturbing, but that is just a tiny, tiny example of the impact that this collapse has had on our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now Miami-Dade Commission Chairman Jose Benavides.
Mayor, that story is the story of so many that are in this situation right now. The families we met with, the mayor and I, this morning, the pain in their face, their expressions, it's not unlike anything I've seen before. It is very difficult to know that your loved one can still be alive and have the hope to believe that, and at the same time just sit there and wait for that information to get to you. That's got to be one of the most difficult things that anybody could endure. And these people are doing it now, as the governor said, 100 hours since this took place. But the hope is there because the very best team in the world started early because they are part of this community. So are one. And many have come, as the CFO stated, to come and help. Many more still to come as needed. So this community is blessed. These people are blessed that we have the kind of people that know what they're doing. They're the very best at what they do, and they're doing it non-stop. Rain, whatever comes in the way, they don't stop and they'll continue. So it is about them. That is who this is about. And we pray for them. We're constantly having hope. And we're begging God for that hope for them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what my colleagues and I have been doing here, making sure that whatever is needed on my behalf is done so. Our mission not here right now, it's just helping, but it will come later when we have to deal with the problems of how this happened and how we can make sure that this never happens again. And that is where we're at this point. Quiero repetir que lo que dijo.
And if you're just joining us right now, we are hearing Chairman Jose Pepe Diaz, he along with other officials giving us the very latest update 5 days after this collapse happened in Surfside. And as we've been mentioning, the focus continues to be on searching for those lives and those survivors right there. We also can tell you that the state fire marshal mentioned that this is the largest deployment that's not a hurricane to take place here in Florida. The last time that we saw deployment this big, at this magnitude, with these amount of men and women serving our community was actually back in 2018 when Hurricane Michael struck Florida. That was a 12-county storm event, and that amount of personnel, of resources, of everything, that's being seen right here in Surfside right now. Everyone just putting it all in, putting all their efforts in together to try to find anyone under this rubble. We know that we have rescue teams from Mexico, from Israel, and from all over Florida. Several counties were mentioned, several cities were mentioned where these rescue teams are coming from to help us here in South Florida right now.
Yeah, there's about 8 to 9 different search crews will be on the pile of rubble at any time, and that's where you're seeing on the right hand of your screen. Apart from the teams, the actual men and women on top of this pile looking through the rubble, they're using canines. We've seen a number of dogs on top of the pile as well, searching for any signs of life. We've seen robots, the drones, sonar technology trying to pick up any sort of sound, cameras trying to get into those small crevices to find those survivors and those missing. Numerous teams, as Alex said, from across South Florida, across the state, and across the world. Crews from Mexico, crews from Israel. So this really is a global effort to ensure that we find these missing 151 people now. The mayor, Daniela Levine Cava, confirming that 10 now, it is confirmed, 10 bodies have been found in the rubble.
And the search continues, and they are braving all sorts of elements, the weather, that fire we've been talking about, the question of whether or not the building that's still standing, the part of the building that's still standing, whether or not it's safe. And they just keep fighting. And this is one of our officials here, the chief of the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Team. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Still operating throughout our 12-hour operational periods. A very, very challenging, very difficult situation, but we keep going. Looking, searching for any opportunity. I have my assistant chief of operations to come up just to speak in a little more detail of what we're covering.
Thank you, Chief. All right, so just a recap from yesterday versus today and what we're looking for later on today. So as the operations continue, we have personnel utilizing bucket brigades, including the heavy machinery, to start removing some of the debris. This afternoon, we'll be switching positions as a result that most of the individuals have come up upon larger concrete areas that now require heavy machinery. During that process of the delayering, we did find the 10th victim, as the Honorable Mayor had mentioned. That person was processed and removed from the pile, and operations continue. Again, the operations continue in the search and rescue mode. There's a misunderstanding in regarding that everyone believes that the search and rescue operation should cease after a specific time, and that's far from the truth. In the end, there's numerous variables and facts. It's not based on opinions. It's not based on time. It's not based on a specific area you just happen to see on TV that went down. It's based on variables and facts. In conjunction with that, we have to consider all options. Then, and only then, we take all that information and we make a collective decision. But it's not going to be from an office. It's not going to be from a television. It's not going to be from an individual that's down the street. It's going to be made collectively with the incident commander and from there on forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, en español, PIO, Erica Benítez.
Muy buenas. Como acaban de escuchar, continuamos.
And as our fire officials were just saying, that it continues to be a search and rescue mission, and it's not. It's far from the truth to say that someone could not survive all these days under the rubble, and you can tell how passionate he was about that. And it's probably frustrating for some of these rescue teams to hear that, to hear, hey, when is this going to turn into a recovery mission? And it's almost like he was saying, wait, hold on, there's hope, there's still hope. We're not just saying that to say it. It is based off of variables and facts. It's not an opinion. It's happened before that some people could survive this, and it could happen again.
151 are still missing. The families of those 151, I'm sure, are saying absolutely this is still a search and rescue mission. This is not a search and recovery. It's not going to be based, as the official said, it's not going to be based on an office. It's not going to be based on a TV that you're watching. You're going to hear it from them if it does have to. They're going to make that decision if it has to come to that. But right now they are still in a search and rescue mode. Let's listen in. I think, it looks like they're shutting off the lights in this press conference.
They may be asking some questions.
Oh, it's
if we
questions
listen in. Let's see.
Okay, so the first question in regards to fire, that the belief that the operations are going too slow. This discussion came up during the Family Assistance Center. It's one of the questions that was brought up by the family. And this was addressed by us and again seconded by the Israeli team that was there. Folks, what we're dealing with is a situation that includes complexity, and I know that we utilized the words before. However, the situation at hand is we're not lifting floor by floor. We're talking about pulverized concrete. We're talking about steel. Every time there's an action, there's a reaction. As yesterday is a perfect example. Now, we had family members at the site to basically see exactly what we've done. This is unconventional, especially so early in the stages. However, as the individuals continue to work feverishly, with urgency, they witnessed a rescuer tumble 25 feet down the mound. That is a perfect example of the situation that we're dealing with. This was, again, it was witnessed by the family members themselves at the site. So again, it's not an issue of we could just attach a couple of cords to a concrete boulder and lift it and call it a day. We're digging through, again, rubbles of concrete, the size of basketballs, the size of baseballs. And then and only then, in combination with the safety of the personnel, and of course, considering the victims themselves, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a 12-story building. It's going to take some time.
To follow up with the part of the question having to do with what is discussed at the family briefings, that's what's discussed. Assistant Chief Jabala has gone through in extreme detail the map of the mound. It's marked out, the grids, explains exactly what's being done in each part of the grid. After all of the technical questions are answered, we talk about DNA. We talk about how the DNA match is going to be made. We talk about communicating with family members. Who will be the next of kin? How will they be contacted? Who will be next to learn about it? How will it be opened up for public knowledge? And we talk about their questions about, is enough being done? And they have seen firsthand what is being done, and they see that everything has been done that can be done, and that they recognize the full danger that these first responders are exposing themselves to, and what it has taken for them to get to this point. Families, because of the process we've gone through, are coming to their own conclusions. Some are feeling more hopeful, some less hopeful, because we do not have definitive answers. We give them the facts. We take them to the site. We show them the operation. We show them where the pancake is. We show them where the tunnel is. We show them where the dogs are running up and identifying something that is then going to be explored. They have seen the operation. They understand now how it works, and they are preparing themselves for news one way or the other.
One second, we have a question.
Mayor, on the unidentified victims, is this an issue of DNA or communicating with their families?
So we tell you the difference. We tell you when a person is identified, and we tell you when we can identify it to you, which is after the next of kin have been notified.
But on the two that have, is it one or the other?
I'm going to defer to one of you to answer the question.
Can you repeat the question?
For the police, we'll have an answer. They're handling the homicide investigation, so they can answer.
In terms of the two unidentified, what was your question in terms of?
The question was on the unidentified victims. Is it an issue of DNA, which you don't have, or is it an issue that you haven't been able to communicate with their family?
There's multiple variables when you're dealing with this. It depends on the condition of the family member that's recovered. We have crime scene and medical examiner personnel on scene with our firefighters when a family member is recovered. If it's possible, we do a rapid DNA test, and then immediately goes to the lab and we expedite that component. Once we have a positive match, we, in a very sensitive and personal manner, we make contact with the next of kin. If there's a component where we cannot get rapid DNA, the medical examiner will collect the family member, and that process will happen at the medical examiner's office. Once that family member is identified, then that process will happen. We'll notify next of kin same way. That's how we do it, and we do it all with respect and integrity. It's very emotional. This whole process has been emotional, and that's why I call it family member, because what we've gone through here, I think we're all family now.
Question here. This is Chief. Can you please talk about some of the facts and variables you're gathering,
sure,
maybe providing hope?
One moment, let me just answer. What was that, ma'am? Once we make, that's why you see when we say we have lost 10 and there's 9 identified, that's because that process is going on. You know, when it comes to the part that it is a family member that we're unable to identify at that moment, the medical examiner will assist in that with that process.
All right, and you can see we're having some technical difficulties, but this is a director of Miami-Dade Police as he's explaining the process of basically when they do find someone in this rubble and what it takes from that moment to when the family finds out. So let's see if we can listen to him here.
Right now, subject to change. We're dealing with a very terrible situation here. That's why we have to be always keep mindful of our family members that are listening and watching right now. Sir, yes. I'm sorry. Okay, to the fire chief. All right.
Can you just please talk about some of the facts and variables you're gathering that may be providing you some hope?
All right. So, in regards to some of the facts and variables that the operations and every operational period that we hit upon, as we continue to delayer, just as we mentioned to the families at the Family Assistance Center, we have what we utilize is called sonars, listening devices. Okay. In addition to that, some of the facts that we had, or some of the variables, are the sizes of the void spaces. There's certain areas that we have not gotten to, but we've been able to place cameras that seem to have large enough spaces, voids, that occupants may still be in there. Again, it's in regards to the actual spaces. Not to say that we've seen anybody down there, but we haven't gotten to the very bottom. In regards to the sound, so that there's no misunderstanding. It's not sounds of people talking or yelling out. As I've mentioned to the families, it could be a tap, it could be a scratch. It may be nothing more than some of the metal that's contorting. But at the end, as I've said before, all variables, all facts have to be made before we make a decision to move to the next phase. And I can tell you that it's not based on one little section because it was completely destroyed. I have to look at the entire pile as 100%, confirm in regards that we need to go to the next phase. And again, I got to reassure, we mentioned the fact that we're just not there yet. We're just not there yet.
Local 10 News, now that we have some semblance of a DNA database for victims, what's the timeline from recovering someone to identifying them to notifying the family? What timeline are you looking at to what we know?
This is what's so amazing, the work that's being done not only by our fire personnel, but our homicide detective, our crime scene personnel, and our medical examiner, our rabbis who are there also on the scene that are helping us. When we are able to collect, it's called rapid DNA. When we have a family member where they're eligible to go through the rapid DNA process, the moment that sample is taken, that detective, that analyst will run directly to the Family Unification Center where it's entered into a system so we can have the match with the standards that we took from family members. Then there's a second protocol at the lab. It's verified because we cannot have a partial. It has to be 100% because we cannot re-victimize our family members and give them wrong information. Typically what we've been seeing has been within a day when we're able to get the rapid DNA component. When the DNA has to be done from the medical examiner, they do it as fast as they can, and then that notification is made. But that's pretty much how the process is, and we do it as fast as we can and as accurate and correctly as we can.
Alcaldesa, buenos días. En español, please. Alcaldesa, usted hace un momento describió lo que pudieron ver esos familiares ayer en el sitio, porque obviamente para ellos visualizar el trabajo era diferente a lo que veían en los noticieros. ¿Puede escribirnos en español qué vieron ellos ayer del trabajo minucioso que se está haciendo adentro, por favor?
Sí, las familias.
So we just heard from Miami-Dade Police and Miami-Dade Fire. Miami-Dade Fire giving some encouraging news. The reason why they are not moving into a search and recovery mode, why they still believe they could find survivors, is because of a couple of variables. So one of them, because of their sonar, their listening devices. They are hearing things. Now, it's not necessarily people screaming out or people having conversations. It's more like a tap or a scratch or even the metal contorting, but they are picking up sounds underneath all the rubble. The second factor here, which is extremely encouraging, and I'm sure for the 151 missing, the families of those missing, they know because of their cameras that there are large enough spaces where occupants could survive in. There are large enough spaces in between all the metal and the concrete that they believe people could be inside there. So because of those two factors, they are not calling this a search and recovery mode right now, a rescue. They're calling this a search and rescue mode.
And that kind of gives you an idea of how they really are using all the equipments and all the tools that they have at hand. They use that sonar listening device first, as you mentioned, Vanessa, to see where those pockets are, to see where those voids are at. Then they use those cameras to go into those areas because they're so down in there, they're so deep down under the debris that they can't physically get to it yet, but they send their cameras in there first to see what it looks like, to see if, in fact, what those noises are or if there's someone in there. So it really just kind of paints the picture of these first responders really using all the tools that they have available to them. And those are just some of the tools, because he also mentioned the heavy machinery. That seems to be the focus today and what they're going to be really focusing on, because as he mentioned, the last victim that was found, the 10th victim here who passed away, the official said that that person was found under a large piece of concrete. So today you're going to see perhaps more of those heavy machines coming in and picking up those big, heavy pieces of concrete. So that's something to look ahead to. Let's listen into the mayor as she continues to answer some questions this morning.
And the signals about problems with this building leading up to the collapse.
Let me say, from the county's perspective, the buildings that are under our jurisdiction are being reviewed. We have on site, we're going through every building that has been reviewed to make sure that every problem that's been identified is pursued. I feel confident that it has been. We have a very, very rigorous building department, and we stand ready to assist our cities, just like is happening in Surfside, to do that deep dive, and not only that, but immediately to make any changes that we can to make this process more robust in the future.
Is that it? Did that answer your question?
that Vinny from Surfside.
Well, Surfside, I told you
this morning.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't, and that's why, you know, because I'm here sort of in the news rather than watching it. But the bottom line is, you know, my commitment is we're going to take everything we have, boxes digitally, get it scanned, and get it up on the website. It is what it is. And we're going to let you guys sort of review it, and we'll address it as it comes. But like I said, I think all of us agree that the number one priority today is to rescue people out of that rubble. Number two is to support the families, and then we'll get to that. But just know that that is in the works, and we will be 100% transparent.
Thank you.
Good job. And for Creole translation, Ivan Moriso.
So you just heard regarding the building department, they're going to go through all the necessary investigations to ensure that the buildings within the jurisdiction Miami-Dade County are safe. So to ensure that they are safe as well. And that's important because obviously tenants in these apartment buildings, owners, they're fearful that this could happen to their building as well, because it's certainly not something that any of us thought could even happen. So that's extremely important to note. The building department is going to go through all the necessary information, investigations to ensure that all the other buildings in our county are safe as well.
Yeah, specifically buildings that are 5 stories or higher, and also buildings that are 40 years and older. And we also know it's not just Miami-Dade County doing this. We know that the city of Miami, Sunny Isles Beach and Hallandale Beach also will be looking into their buildings and making sure everyone is safe, since everyone is so worried at this time. So let's listen to what Mayor Daniela Levine Cava of Miami-Dade County said just a short time ago. If you are joining us right now, our continuing coverage of this catastrophic collapse in Surfside continues. Official giving us an update a short time ago. Let's listen to the mayor.
This morning, we did recover another body. That brings the count to 10. The total number of those accounted for is now 135, and the total unaccounted 151. Our detectives are working in real time right now to audit this list. We're receiving multiple calls still from family members about the same loved ones, and the information is coming from various sources. I want to stress, as we have from the beginning, these numbers are very fluid and they will continue to change. I want to provide you, as we have done and will do, the best updates as soon as we have them.
And so the process of searching for any possible survivors continues right now, as we've been saying, and many are, of course, anxious and desperate for those answers.
We did get that update. Another victim now found under the rubble. 7's Andrew Scheinthal begins our coverage from Surfside.
Our biggest concern is causing more harm than good.
The work can be painstakingly demanding, at times even requiring first responders to remove debris bucket by bucket. But the pace at which officials are finding victims of the Champlain condominium collapse has family members losing patience.
It's not enough. Imagine if your children were in there.
The 12-story building collapsed last Thursday morning in the middle of the night while residents were fast asleep. First responders from across the state have been working nonstop to search for victims. But the task has been exceptionally difficult. From thunderstorms to a fire that burned for days, obstacle after obstacle stood in their way.
We don't want to get any of our firefighters or our rescuers injured, so we have to go slow and methodical.
Over the weekend, a trench was dug through the debris that will allow search crews to have better access to the site. It's 125 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 40 feet deep.
By creating that trench, it's also given us opportunities to look for different areas in regards to access points to search from.
While the search increases, so do the concerns.
My room is overlooking the Champlain Tower South.
Why the tower fell in the first place remains a mystery. So for those who live in neighboring buildings, they're trying to decide if they stay or go.
You never know if it could happen to our building. And now every night I go to sleep thinking, is my building gonna collapse?
And I'm sure she's not alone. So many people are asking how this even happens.
Reports are revealing some possible warning signs. The 7's Gina Benitez continues our live team coverage with more on those signs. Gina.
So we've now learned that the town of Surfside has hired a well-respected engineer to try and figure out what went wrong here. And we're also hearing from a condo owner who says late last year, an official from the town of Surfside actually told them that the building was in good shape. While search efforts in Surfside are still well underway, attention also turned to something else. The big question, how could this have happened?
I want answers. Yes, I want answers. I want major answers. That was my home. I was going to retire there. That was my home.
Susanna Alvarez lived in the tower that collapsed. She made it out alive and is still reliving the horror to National Public Radio.
When we got outside again, all I could hear were the people screaming. They were screaming, help, help, someone help us. They were screaming. There was people alive in there.
Pages fanning out major concerns were raised in a field survey report in 2018, pointing to a concrete slab below the pool deck with cracking in the parking garage. Morabito Consultants conducting that survey, released by the town of Surfside. It states the waterproofing below the pool deck and entrance drive, as well as all of the planter waterproofing, is beyond its useful life and therefore must all be completely removed and replaced. The failed waterproofing is causing major structural damage to the concrete structural slab below these areas. Failure to replace the waterproofing in the near future will cause the extent of the concrete deterioration to expand exponentially. Photos from the report show cracking at the edge of balconies and noting complaints from owners about water intrusion. A company engineer even saying there was a major error in the original development, water accumulation, and concrete deterioration. In a statement from Morabito Consultants to 7 News, the firm states, in 2018, our report detailed significant cracks and breaks in the concrete, which required repairs to ensure the safety of the residents and public.
I want you to know that in 2018, we had a board meeting and we sat there with the town of Surfside, and the town of Surfside said to us that the building was not in bad shape. That the building was not in bad shape.
An email between town officials shows a meeting between the condo board and the town did take place in November, and that Morabito report was completed in October. An attorney for the building's condominium association speaking to CNN after the collapse.
Nothing appeared either to the engineers or to any of the residents that would suggest anything like this was imminent.
Morabito Consultants says it was brought in again in June 2020 to prepare a 40-year building repair and restoration plan, saying at the time of the building collapse, roof repairs were underway, but concrete restoration had not yet begun. Our firm exclusively provides engineering consulting services. We do not provide construction-related services such as building repair and restoration contracting. Now the town has hired an engineer, someone to do a deep dive on what went wrong at 88th and Collins.
I had a private meeting with the building inspector or engineer that they had hired to advise the town. Now this gentleman is the same engineer who was advising when the Pentagon was hit by the airplanes on 9/11. He's the same engineer who was recruited to work on the FIU bridge issues.
Now, we also know that the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, has sent a team of scientists and engineers to help gather information here and help the crews here on site. We're live in Surfside. Gina Benitez, 7 News.
Gina, thank you. We move now to the frustration of those families as they wait on any word regarding their loved ones.
7's Alex Browning spoke to some of them this morning. He has more now. Alex?
Yeah, ladies, families acknowledge that the best of the best is searching for their loved ones, but they say they can't help but feel like the search and rescue is moving slow, too slow, 5 days later.
I mean, after all these hours, days, it's only 10.
Frustration lingering for some on day 5 of search and rescue operations at the Surfside condo collapse.
I mean, what would you like to see happen? You say you're a little frustrated.
Founding people I want to see alive, but, you know, even bodies, something moving, you know. It's a lot of people under.
More than 100 people unaccounted for, believed to be underneath the concrete and debris as rescue crews continue to work. Families gathering again for a briefing from officials following a somber Sunday when they were given the opportunity to visit the search site. The pain of that visit visible as they returned. A few blocks away, a memorial growing while family, friends, and this community desperately hold on to hope.
Is to really pray and hope for the best, you know.
And loved ones are expected to be back here at the Family Reunification Center for another briefing from county and local officials. We're live in Surfside. Alex Browning, 7 News.
Alex, thank you. And the collapse has personally affected a member of our 7 News family.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Phil Farrow had relatives living in that building. He learned over the weekend they did not survive. He spoke to 7's Robin Simmons about it.
The Champlain Towers South tragedy is being felt by so many, including 7's Chief Meteorologist Phil Farrow. His cousin Sergio Lozano seeing the unimaginable.
I tell her, Lola, the building's not there. She's yelling and saying, what do you mean? I go, my parents' apartment's not there. It's gone.
In the morning when my cousin called me, and he was basically in tears, and I still couldn't believe it until we got the surveillance video that showed the building collapsing, and that kind of breaks your heart.
Phil says his family is still processing the loss of 79-year-old Gladys and her husband, 83-year-old Antonio. Gladys was Phil's godmother, Antonio his uncle. Here's the pair celebrating Antonio's 80th birthday. The couple just weeks away from another milestone, their 59th wedding anniversary.
So my godmother was probably one of the most beautiful people in the world that I've ever known. For any occasion, she would cook. They would be the life of the party. My uncle Tony, very much quick with a joke, and they were truly the kind of people who, whatever you needed, they were there for you, for the entire family.
Phil says his uncle's dream was to live on the beach. After more than 20 years of condo living, watching their 2 boys have children, and even getting the chance to meet their first great-grandchild, that dream turned into a nightmare early Thursday morning.
In the blink of an eye, everything is gone, everything changes. And so we just need to love each other.
Phil says his cousins are coping, grateful to have something they know dozens of families still don't have, the ability to lay their loved ones to rest.
And they were found together. And so we're all going with the thought that they never knew what happened. They fell asleep, and that was it.
The man who has helped countless 7 News viewers get through weather events has this advice for those bracing for a different kind of storm.
They may be gone physically, but they're not gone from your heart. So, yeah, just have faith.
The Lozanos will be laid to rest this week. Reporting from the news desk, Robin Simmons, 7 News.
Like so many people, I was hesitant to get dental implants. But once I saw the beautiful work Dr. Barak did with my smile, I knew it was the best decision I had ever made. And now I can't stop smiling.
Their team knew exactly what I needed and set me on the right course. I have the smile I've always dreamed of, and it only took a day. You will not find a more caring and talented group of professionals than the team at Smile Studio.
Getting involved to fight cancer has never been easier. You just need to have a phone.
That's right. Dolphins Challenge Cancer has created a special opportunity to donate via text message or online right now. Text DCC10 to 20222 to make a $10 donation, or
text DCC50 to 20222 to make a $50 donation. You can also make a donation at dolphinschallengecancer.com.
Hi, I'm attorney Dwayne Terry from Rubenstein Law, and this is Rubenstein's Rules for Personal Injury. Rule number 10, you have a right to safety. Many businesses have a duty to keep their properties safe from violence. This applies to apartments, shopping centers, and other businesses. They may have to provide appropriate lighting, secure windows, gates, as well as on-site security. At Rubenstein Law, we offer a free evaluation of your case if you or a loved one has been assaulted.
For all these rules and more, go to rubensteinlaw.com.
Having your home damaged by a hurricane or even a broken pipe can be both devastating and overwhelming. The Morgan Law Group is here to help. We can help assess the damage, get your home inspected, and fight for your rights as a policyholder. From storm damage, hail, flooding, mold, pipe leaks, roof damage to sinkholes, we've been representing policyholders throughout Florida for over 20 years. Make your claims process easier by giving us a call today. If no recovery, then no fee or cost to you. Visit policyadvocate.com now to get started.
This is a 7 News weather alert.
And we have a flash flood warning to tell you about for parts of South Florida.
Meteorologist Vivian Gonzalez joins us with the details. Vivian.
That's right. We've been getting flooding concerns around central Miami-Dade. Luckily, we haven't had any flooding issues near the search and rescue site, but there's rain moving into the area around 88th Street, Collins Avenue, seeing some moderate rain, and it's going to last for a while due to the fact that the winds have lightened up in comparison to the weekend. But check out the radar. It is busy around most of South Florida right now. And as we move on into Broward County, Alligator Alley lighting up with a lot of lightning and heavy rain, prompting a significant weather advisory for the potential of funnel clouds and winds in excess of 50 miles per hour. Then you take a look at Miami-Dade County. The rain's becoming more widespread here from Hollandale Beach, North Miami, heading south into I-95, downtown Miami, lightning over here heading into Coral Gables. And the rains have been relentless in this area between Coral Gables, Pinecrest, and Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay into the Florida Turnpike. And there's a lot of reports coming in of standing water and also covering some of the roadways and curbside. So there's a flash flood warning that will run all the way through 1:30 this afternoon. And we have 2 reports of flooding. Yes, one near where we have the warning, and another one very close to Kendall Drive, where better than 3.5 inches of rain fell in about 75 minutes alone. And around the upper Florida Keys, another batch of heavy rain and lightning flaring up. Now, we also have to talk about the tropics because we have newly formed Tropical Depression 4, 35-mile-per-hour winds, and this one could make landfall by tonight as Tropical Storm Danny. More on this one coming up in a few minutes.
And we are following a news alert out of Pompano Beach. Truck trouble causing traffic trouble on I-95.
7's Lorena Estrada live at the news desk with the details for us. Lorena.
Well, Vanessa, Alex, this crash shutting down a section of I-95 in both directions in Broward County. The crash caused a fuel tanker to spill about a couple thousand gallons of fuel in the northbound lanes in Broward County. The fuel truck overturned and fell into the southbound lanes and apparently caused another crash there. The Florida Highway Patrol has closed all northbound and southbound lanes between Atlantic Boulevard and Sample Road in Pompano Beach to clean up the mess and, of course, investigate. Copans Road also closed under the highway, so heads up if you need to travel in that area. You want to avoid it because it will be closed for some time. As you see, their crews have been working to clean it up. And now it is unclear if there are any injuries. FHP is investigating. That's the very latest from the Plex. I'm Lorena Estrada. 7 News will be right back.
I used to wake up with a stuffy nose and thought to myself, how could I have allergy symptoms inside my home? Turns out I had a horrible mold problem from a small leak and didn't even know it. The mold in my house was making me sick, so I called Floridian International Adjusters. They helped me recover $40,000.
Floridian Public Adjusters will do a free inspection of your home and offer a free claim consultation. They've recovered millions of dollars for property owners, and they can help you too.
And best of all, they don't get paid unless you do.
Don't wait. Call for a free consultation today. Floridian Public Adjusters.
The storm caused a lot of damage to my roof. When I needed my insurance company the most, they denied my claim. I called Floridian International Adjusters and they recovered the money I deserved. I got $60,000 for a new roof.
Floridian Public Adjusters will do a free inspection of your home and offer a free claim consultation. They've recovered millions of dollars for property owners, and they can help you too.
And best of all, they don't get paid unless you do.
Don't wait. Call for a free consultation today. Floridian Public Adjusters.
Plant your seeds, watch them grow. Life is fun, don't you know? Inch by inch, then miles and miles. Life is better with a smile.
had water damage from a leak under my kitchen sink, and mold was growing on the wall. I never knew it would be covered by my insurance company until I called Floridian Public Adjusters. They reviewed my policy and did a free inspection. Turns out my kitchen cabinets were covered, and Floridian got me $25,000 for my damages.
Floridian Public Adjusters will do a free inspection of your home and offer a free claim consultation. They've recovered millions of dollars for property owners, and they can help you too. Don't wait. Call for a free consultation today. Floridian Public Adjusters.
Welcome back. A look at the tragedy in Surfside. The search for 151 people still missing in the condo collapse continues this noon, but incredibly, dozens of people were able to escape the collapse.
And today they are sharing their stories of survival.
You don't appreciate life until you feel the fear of death.
Moshe Kondiati sharing his near-death experience, waking up Thursday to the walls of his 4th floor condo collapsing.
When the door that I was trying to open jammed, because all the weight of the concrete or vibration, I had to push it with all my force, and when it opened, was already fire department that helping me to escape.
He says he's now grateful to be alive and clings even tighter to his faith. He's not the only one with a story of survival.
At that moment where it really hit me that we were racing against time to get to the bottom.
We first met Albert Aguero Friday after he and his family escaped. Now his wife and children are sharing their frightening moments.
After seeing the walls and how badly and violently they swayed, I honestly don't know how it didn't come down when we were startled, basically out of our sleep.
They say when the building began crumbling, they had no choice but to race through the darkness from their apartment to the stairwell.
All I was thinking was we need to get out of here before this building completely comes down on us.
Stopping on the 3rd floor to save a neighbor in her 80s.
Try to help her get out as quickly as possible, because if she doesn't get out, we don't get out.
Fabiano Youssef also lucky to be alive. He sat down with 7 News after his 10th floor condo was destroyed, as seen here in this video from 7 Sky Force. He says if it wasn't for spending time with his kids, he may have been crushed in the rubble.
I am alive because of a miracle of God, because of my wife recovering from her surgery, because of a call from my son, and because of my friend insisting that I stay with my family instead of going home.
So many emotions still today, and although the survivors are grateful to be alive, they are worried, and they have heavy hearts this afternoon because they did lose some friends and neighbors who are still unaccounted for.
And a team from Israel is in South Florida to help a search for survivors. The government sending a delegation of 10 reserve officers, all top experts in engineering and first aid. An Israeli government ministry official who arrived with them says while the mission is tough, they are not giving up.
It's almost impossible to find someone alive, but you never know. Sometimes miracles happen. You know, we Jews believe in miracles. All our history is paved with miracles, so maybe a miracle will happen.
Absolutely, and several of the missing have Israeli citizenship.
And as we've been telling you, obstacles are hindering search and rescue efforts. 7's Gina Benitez continues our coverage now from Surfside.
And our biggest concern is causing more harm than good, causing the pile to collapse even more.
Day 5 of search and rescue efforts continue in Surfside with crews here from all over the state. Some 370 urban search and rescue members on site, which is the largest non-hurricane deployment in Florida's history.
It's not our community, but it's our state, and our response team does respond statewide, and we're here for our neighbors.
They faced challenges over the last few days. Inclement weather an issue, forcing crews to pause operations from time to time. And they've had to battle a fire underneath all the rubble, the source of it down deep.
The primary goal with the trench was to assist us in suppression of smoldering fire activities and smoke as well, preventing any spread. By creating that trench, it's also given us opportunities to look for different areas in regards to access points to search from.
Crews using all kinds of tools, equipment, and heavy machinery to get the job done. They say this is still a rescue mission and will continue to be until further notice.
You look at some of the survivals that have gone in other countries, that they've been in there, trapped victims for 7 to 10 days. So, yeah, our hopes are up. You know, that's one of the reasons all of us are down here trying to assist the area community with search and rescue.
That was Gina Benitez reporting. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, we want to show you what it looks like at Surfside this afternoon. The mayor confirming yet another body has been recovered in the rubble. The total now at 10. Our 7's Andrew Scheinthal is live at the scene. He's going to have a live report coming up.
Did you know over 2 million homes in Florida have cast iron pipes? Why is this a problem? Old cast iron plumbing is failing, causing damage to homes and leading to expensive repairs. Homes built before 1975 may have cast iron plumbing, and those homeowners may be entitled to compensation. I will fight for them to make sure they can repair the damage to their homes. Before calling the insurance company, call me, your insurance attorney. There are no upfront costs, and we don't get paid until you do. That's our promise. Did you know plumbing disasters can leave homeowners drowning in problems, causing damage to their property and draining their bank accounts? Most people don't know that plumbing repairs might be covered by their insurance. Anyone who's experienced plumbing problems should call me. I'll fight to get the compensation they may deserve. I've recovered over $500 million for property owners, and I'm ready to help more. There are no upfront costs, and we don't get paid until you do. Call me, your insurance attorney. Today, we've got you covered.
I'm Anthony Lamacchia from Lamacchia Realty. We're new to South Florida, but no strangers to this market. As one of New England's largest real estate companies, we continuously relocate our clients here to South Florida. We have the most aggressive marketing and knowledgeable local realtors who will sell your home for the most money. When you list with Lamacchia Realty, everyone will know your home is for sale. Call 855-510-SOLD or visit lamacchiaflorida.com.
Why finance your home improvements with Y-Green? Because when your home is more comfortable and safe from storms, when you make upgrades that can lower your utility bills and insurance costs and increase the value of your home, when the financing for those improvements is more affordable than other options, and gives you access to independent contractors that don't get paid until the project is complete. Imagine what you can do. Call now or visit ygreen.com today.
Welcome back, everyone. Our coverage on the catastrophic collapse in Surfside continues. A short time ago, officials gave us an update. We now have confirmed 10 deaths so far, and 151 people are still unaccounted for.
Let's head out to Andrew Scheinthal live at the scene of the collapse. Andrew.
And this is day 5 of this entire operation, trying to go and see if there are any survivors inside the rubble here. And it is very busy here. In fact, today's the busiest day that I've seen it, and that's because they have crews not just from across the state, but from across the world here, including Israel and Mexico. Now, as you mentioned, Mayor Cava announcing this morning that overnight they did find another body in the rubble. They did not release any details about that, and we do not expect them to. They are very, very private about this information. They only release it at the news conferences, and then once they identify who that person is and they let the family know, then they will release that information. But here's what she had to say earlier.
This morning, we did recover another body. That brings the count to 10. The total number of those accounted for is now 135, and the total unaccounted 151. Our detectives are working in real time right now to audit this list. We're receiving multiple calls still from family members about the same loved ones, and the information is coming from various sources. I want to stress, as we have from the beginning, these numbers are very fluid and they will continue to change. I want to provide you, as we have done and will do, the best updates as soon as we have them.
Now, one thing they did talk about is how long this process is taking. Families are very upset about it, but what I can tell you is that first responders are doing everything they can. In fact, the county mayor saying that there is still hope, that there are voids, meaning spaces within the debris, and they're hoping there might be people in there. The county's not giving up, and they're asking the community not to give up either. We're live in Surfside. I am Andrew Scheinthal, 7 News.
This is a 7 News Weather Alert.
And we have flood concerns across portions of Miami-Dade. No flooding concerns near the search and rescue site, but there's rain over the area that we'll continue to monitor. We have periods of heavy rain setting up shop between I-75 and US 27 in Broward County around Southwest Ranches, Weston. And then you take a look at Hollandale Beach, North Miami Beach, Miami Shores, I-95 getting soaked with steady rain at this hour. Fisher Island lighter rain there. Heading out west into the Turnpike, Doral, moderate downpours as well. Heading into Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, the rain has been nonstop over here. We have reports of street flooding, even along the curbside around some roadways, and at least through 1:30, a flash flood warning will remain in effect. We have reports of flooding also near Kendall Drive and around the upper Florida Keys. Showers and thunderstorms are starting to brew. That's the very latest.
All right, Viv, drive carefully out there, and that'll do it for 7 News at Noon. I'm Alex Diarmas.
And I'm Vanessa Borge. Our coverage on the collapse will continue at 4.
For hourly forecasts and live radar, tap the 7 Weather app. It's free. Just search WSVN in your app store. Powered by Estrella Insurance.